Good Saturday morning, everyone. Welcome back to Weather with Sim again. I hope you guys are all having a great weekend so far, and it is January 4th, 2025. And before we start talking about today's forecast, make sure to subscribe to the channel as we are getting very close to 1,000 subscribers. And if we can reach that before the end of next week, that would be much appreciated. So make sure to subscribe to the channel as we also will keep you updated with the latest. And don't forget to leave a thumbs up as well. Those help out more than you know. And of course, leave any questions, comments, or concerns that you guys have down below. Feel free to leave anything down below, and I'll get to those right after today's weather forecast. But let's first start off by giving you guys an overview about what to expect for the next couple of days, as we currently got winter storm warnings currently in effect anywhere from Kansas all the way back over there into West Virginia, which is quite wild because yesterday we did not have winter storm warnings in effect, but it turns out the National Weather Services have now issued that big area of winter storm warnings now, which is going to be something to keep an eye on, as this winter storm is going to be a lot stronger than what models were showing during the last few days. We also do have a little bit of an ice storm threat down here towards Missouri, southern Illinois, and western Kentucky, as we currently got those ice storm warnings currently in effect. And not only that, we also do have those winter weather advisories and even those winter storm warnings also in effect for the higher elevations out there to the west, which are going to be areas to keep an eye on, as we could be seeing that potential for a couple feet of snowfall, especially over here in the higher elevations, while over here we will also need to be watching for over a foot of snowfall in some areas. But I think the main concern is going to be that freezing rain, so make sure you are really watching closely, as this does really look to be a very dangerous winter storm as it rolls on through. Now let's really start going over what to expect with this winter storm as it rolls on through. And since we're only a day away from it, and that winter storm is pretty much going to begin tomorrow morning in some areas, if why not start later today, especially over there in Missouri and Kansas, we finally have access to the shorter range models, especially the HRRR model, which actually does do a pretty good job predicting the freezing rain, snow, and as well as the sleet usually, because it's kind of just a future radar giving you the idea about what to expect in the future. So yeah, it pretty much does good with anything you can think of, and that's why we are going to be using this model for today. And as you guys can see, this does want to show that freezing rain really starting to begin by the time we get into Sunday, and as well as into Monday morning across most of this area. And like I said, this winter storm could even be starting as early as later today in some of these areas, as a lot of sleet, freezing rain, and heavy snowfall are definitely going to be possible, as we could definitely be seeing quite a bit of each precipitation, and that will continue to move eastward even as we get into Monday, with still a little bit of snow and freezing rain on the backside of that system, but mostly going to be moving into the mid-Atlantic, with still some potential for a lot of ice and as well as heavy snowfall over here. So definitely something to really keep an eye on closely, especially as we will be seeing that potential for a lot of freezing rain in this area as well. So make sure you are really paying attention, and of course getting prepared, as widespread power outages are definitely going to be likely. And here's one of the reasons why we are expecting a lot of impacts, including widespread power outages. Some areas will likely even see travel difficult to impossible, meaning that you probably won't be able to drive even if you're trying to get to work, because roads will be way too slippery. And that's exactly what we could see, as we are going to be seeing well over a quarter inch of ice across much of this corridor, anywhere from Kansas all the way back over there into the lower Ohio Valley, as even a few areas, especially southeast Missouri, southern Illinois, and western Kentucky, where we had those ice storm warnings in effect, could maybe pick up to an inch of freezing rain. And this model is actually showing a little bit more in the way of freezing rain a little far to the north, so I would not be a surprise if the National Weather Service did extend those ice storm warnings a little farther to the north, but we still got to continue to watch this very closely as things are still gonna probably shift around a little bit, but we are at the point now to where we kind of got a really good idea about what to expect. So at least make sure you are paying attention if you do live anywhere in this corridor, as we could see well over an inch of freezing rain over there in southeast Missouri, southern Illinois, and western Kentucky, where we have those ice storm warnings in effect, like I said. And then if we compare that to the NAM model, we will need to watch for still a lot of freezing rain as we get into Sunday and as well as into Monday of next week, especially when you wake up on Sunday morning, because that's when this freezing rain is really going to begin. And as you guys can see, we will be tracking once again well over a quarter inch of freezing rain across a lot of these areas. I kind of agree with the NAM model a little bit more, especially because it's not as bullish with an inch of freezing rain, but I definitely do think it is still something to watch for, as we could maybe be seeing a little bit of a threat for up to an inch of freezing rain. But I think the more likely scenario is we see anywhere from a half an inch of freezing rain up there towards 3/4 of an inch, which is a little bit less. Now let's also go over snowfall with the HRRR model, which from what it showed with the freezing rain, it is going to be very interesting to see what it shows with the snow. And as you guys can see, we will be tracking once again a huge corridor of potentially over a foot of snowfall. Look at that. We're talking Kansas City, Missouri seeing well over 20 inches of snowfall. Look at that, 28 inches just to the east there of Kansas City, Missouri, which is crazy. So if you do live in Kansas City, make sure you are being really on high alert, guys. I mean, this is the first time in quite a while that I've seen this much snowfall in Kansas City, or at least seen the models show this much snow. So I do think it's more than likely going to be a pretty big winter storm for Kansas City, Missouri. And since we could be seeing over 2 feet, this might even be record breaking. We'll have to see about this, but from what I'm seeing right now, it's still a little tricky to figure out if this is exactly how much snow will fall in that area. But once again, it is just wild to see these malls really show that much snowfall. So make sure you are getting prepared, as widespread power outages, more than likely going to be impossible travel, and as well as definitely getting stuck inside of indoors, as that snow will definitely stop the doors from opening in those areas because it will just be so high. It'll kind of act like a wall, keeping a lot of the building doors from opening. So make sure to be on high alert for that. And of course, you guys over there in Indiana, Illinois, and as well as Ohio will also need to watch this winter storm very closely, as you guys could also see similar hazards, but it's thankfully going to stay a little bit less. But we will definitely need to watch it closely, as some areas could very well pick up over a foot of snowfall, especially around the Indianapolis region. And then if we compare that to the NAM model, doesn't show as much, but still, look at that. Some areas in Kansas possibly picking up to 2 feet of snowfall, guys. Once again, this is just crazy to look at. And once again, those hazards are going to be pretty crazy when this winter storm rolls on through. So make sure you are being on high alert if you do live in northern Kansas or Nebraska, and like I said, even Kansas City, especially all the way back over there in the central Illinois, central Indiana, and as well as central Ohio, as we will likely get quite a bit of snowfall as this rolls on through. And of course, we could very well see some extreme impacts as this continues even into Monday of next week. Now, let's go over your travel impacts, and like I said, we will be seeing that potential for major to even extreme impacts in some areas, and this is just overall, so this is pretty much adding sleet, snow, and even freezing rain to it. And as you guys can see, we are going to be tracking those major impacts, and I would not be surprised at all if there is some extreme impacts showing up on Kansas City, Missouri, as that area, like I said, is more than likely going to see impossible travel conditions conditions due to how high the snowfall could be. And of course, those travel conditions will continue to be impactful as you get over here into the lower Ohio Valley, where we actually do have some extreme impacts currently showing up. So make sure you guys are all being on high alert. Like I said, this is just crazy to look at given the fact that models are currently showing up to 2 feet of snowfall in some areas, and once again, maybe even an inch of freezing rain in some areas as well, which definitely does look to cause some major impacts, if why not extreme impacts. Now, a completely different thing that we also need to watch for as we get into Sunday of next week, which will be tomorrow, is going to be that severe weather risk, okay? What's crazy is that we will also need to watch for severe weather down there in the deep south, as we got plenty of energy, moisture, and as well as wind shear to support an enhanced risk for severe weather, as we currently got that risk for a couple of tornadoes, some of which may be a little strong, and I'll talk about why, but we also will need to watch for some large hail, and of course even those damaging winds, which the main concern and really the only thing that's driving that enhanced risk is the wind threat, as we do have a 30% risk for damaging winds. So make sure you're being on high alert. I will more than likely go live for this, especially because we're going to have both that winter storm and as well as the severe weather ongoing. Now, once again, I probably won't be able to be live for all of it, especially when that winter storm really starts ramping up in my area, because I live in southwest Indiana, so we will more than likely lose power sometime on Sunday. But like I said, I will try to be live for some of it, given the fact that this is going to be a pretty dangerous winter storm, so make sure to subscribe to the channel so that way you guys don't miss out on that. Now, here's the reason why I am expecting a few tornadoes to potentially be on the stronger side of things, if why not even an upgrade to a 10% hatch risk for tornadoes, is the significant tornado parameters. Just check that out. We're talking similar significant tornado parameters like what we saw when we saw that moderate risk for severe weather. In effect, the only difference is that it's not as widespread, but still we're seeing those purples, we're seeing those pinks show up, indicating just some tornado parameters almost completely off the scale. This is just crazy to look at, like I said, so make sure you guys are really keeping an eye on this, as the severe weather threat is really going to be crazy. And if we compare that to the NAM model, still shows some pretty high significant tornado parameters in that area. It does show it a little far down southeast, but still shows some very similar significant tornado parameters in those areas, which could definitely mean an upgrade in the tornado threat. So like I said, we will be going live for this, so the best thing to do is subscribe to the channel so that way you guys can stay up to date with the latest. Now, not only will we be tracking that as we get into Sunday of next week, which once again will be tomorrow, but we will also need to watch another winter storm by the time we get into later next week, which will be in about 7 days from now, as we will be tracking another major, if why not significant, winter storm down there in Texas, which definitely does look to bring a little bit of freezing rain and heavy snowfall. So we will need to watch that, as that will even continue to bring heavy snowfall as that big band even moves over there into Louisiana, and as well as into parts there of Arkansas and Mississippi, with still freezing rain and heavy snowfall continuing there across the northern Dixie Valley region, and we might even have a little bit of a snowstorm threat up here in the lower Ohio Valley to watch for during the same time, as we might be picking up a couple inches of snowfall up here far to the north, kind of like what we're seeing with this winter storm. But we will definitely need to keep an eye on it very closely as we get into later next week, and then after that, things are just going to continue to bring in. This winter storm will just continue to bring impactful impacts as it does roll on through the East Coast, with still freezing rain and as well as heavy snowfall moving through the East Coast area, including New York City. Now, the last things we're going to take a look at is your total freezing rain and your total snowfall. Starting off with your total freezing rain, we will be tracking once again that big ice storm, as it is expected to roll on through by the time we get into tomorrow and as well as into Monday. Sunday. And not only that, we also do have that other storm to really watch for, as we could be seeing a few tenths of an inch of ice in some areas. So definitely something to watch for, as the models are currently showing this. And not only that, we also do need to watch for snowfall, as we could be seeing a lot of snowfall across these areas, including from the big winter storm that we will be tracking as we get into Sunday and as well as Monday of next week, which once again that will be tomorrow. So we definitely do need to watch this very closely as we get into the next few days, because I mean, for how much snowfall we're seeing in Kansas City, central Illinois, central Indiana, and central Ohio, that's just crazy to look at. So make sure to be on extremely high alert, as we could be seeing widespread power outages, down trees, and of course impossible travel. But thank you all so much for watching. I hope you guys did enjoy today's weather forecast. I know this video was a little bit longer than usual, but we had a lot of stuff to go over, as this is definitely not looking like a good winter storm, if why not a good January, as we will be tracking even more winter storms as we get into the middle of January. So make sure to subscribe to the channel, as we will continue to keep you guys updated with the latest, and so that way you can stay informed, as we will likely even go live for some of this. So make sure to do that if you haven't already. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up as well. This helps out more than you know. And of course, leave any questions, comments, or concerns that you guys have down below. Feel free to leave anything down below, and I'll get to those comments in just a second. And I hope you all have a great rest of your weekend, and of course stay safe from that ice storm, as I will be doing a few updates tomorrow as that rolls on through, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you all so much for watching, and goodbye.